thanks for having me again, man. Siempre es un placer, to be here. And yeah, man, obviously we've kind of been doing our own thing for a little while, but now we're back into it for the World Cup and gave it a little time to breathe. We're gonna hopefully have this podcast and other content as well that I filmed back in the day with you and with David coming out soon. We'll have to, everybody's gonna have to keep their eyes out for that. But yeah, man, I'm excited because this is the moment that we've all been waiting for, The World Cup starts tomorrow. We're filming this like Saturday night here in the US, so it would be in like about 12 hours, right? Yeah, it's 10, about 12 hours. The first match is gonna start, Ecuador and Qatar, My great grandma, I'm gonna be rooting for my great grandma side, of course, for Ecuador. And yeah, man, I'm excited. It's something that I think every soccer fan is always looking forward to. It's the biggest tournament on the planet, and obviously we'll be talking about like, USA and Mexico point of view, but I think for the entire World Cup, there is a lot to be said, especially about the injuries that are taking place, the human rights violations. It's a very special World Cup, Wouldn't you say that?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we have great teams out there, a lot of young teams going in there for the first time, and I think it's very important just to learn from them and for the coaches to give these young teams a chance to kind of showcase their skills and see what they have. Um, as we know, Brazil and Argentina kind of like the fan favorites to win this World Cup. But we'll see. We'll see who's going to end up surprising. Um, and there's a lot of injuries as well. So
Out
a
of
lot of
here.
players who were able to miss it. Even we just heard today that Benzema
Yeah,
not going to
Benzema.
be out.
Yeah,
Yeah, he'll be out for an injury. So we'll see what happens. At this the start of this World Cup.
yeah, man. No, I mean, I think that's a place we can start. Right now, like I think about talking about injuries. There are a lot of injured players, man, and it's sad because it's not gonna be like the same. There are always injuries in every World Cup, but I feel like half of France's starters are injured. Pogba, Kante, Nkunku, Benzema now was literally like the best player in the world, like from last year's Ballon d'Or. Um, and also Mignon. Mignon is more of a backup, but he's still important. And yeah, there's just so many players that are missing, man. On that team, I mean, they're super deep, but like that's just an example of how I think having a World Cup in the middle of the year is different. I don't want to say it's bad necessarily. Again, like we can like talk about the whole politics later of it, but I think it's definitely it's definitely a challenge for people to be fit all year, especially in the middle of the season after an intense, few 4 or 5 months, right, of like club football. I think a lot of people are feeling it now. A lot of people are injured. Mane is also injured. That's like one of the other big names that's injured. I think it makes a big difference on a team's morale, especially. But we'll have to see. You never know. They could also be the opposite effect. Maybe France will be hungrier, instead of more like, decepcionado down. So what do you think?
No, yeah, I mean that's one of like the main criticisms that a lot of people are saying about this World Cup. It's like the timing itself. It's mid-season. Everybody's kind of has injuries going on, and I think it's going to end up affecting some teams, and it's going to end up benefiting some other teams as well. So I think it's just kind of at this point, all teams should just kind of stop pointing fingers or kind of saying, oh, this team's not going to do well. We're not going to do well, and just kind of work with what we have. Right now Mexico, an example of a team that's faced a lot of criticism. A lot of people said like, oh, they should have this person, they should not have this person. At this point, we should just like each team just support the team with the rosters that they have, and just hope for the best. See what happens.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
yeah, what are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say I was gonna add to that. I think that's important because I definitely when the roster came out for the US, and for Mexico too. Like for Mexico, I don't know, I had more of a brace for it, especially obviously because I'm more of a US fan, obviously anyway. But like I don't know, like as soon as the roster drops, it's easy, I think, for everybody to point fingers, as you said. Like I definitely felt that way. Like I think it still frustrates me as much as like I'm trying to like have more compassion for Berhalter that he's always bringing Roldan and Aaron Long and Morris, and they honestly, to be honest, I just don't think their play warrants being there. But it is what it is, and they're there, and you have to hope that they have the tournament of their lives, and you have to know as well, like with Mexico, a few examples. Like yeah, they don't. I mean, the third goalie, the second goalie doesn't matter so much, but they brought Cota and Talavera, who are super old, and honestly, just like I feel like don't serve much business being there, you know.
Or yeah.
And Gallardo, you know, a bunch of players that just honestly, it was their time a minute ago to not be there anymore, you know. But
Well,
you said you have,
before you get into that, Stefan,
yeah,
we can go ahead and get into the rosters.
yeah. So I kind of already gave my take on it, you know, like a lot of these positions, but I guess to be yeah pretty upfront with the goalkeepers, I think I'm okay with it overall. Like Matt Turner's a starter now. He's definitely been the best goalie. I think Stefan probably should have been there, in my opinion. But Sean Johnson honestly has just been better, and like MLS has already been top three, if not one of, if not the best. I don't think he's the best. I think Gales is better than him, to be honest. You know, but he's one of the best goalies in MLS, and Stefan has been really poor the last year or so, year to 2 years even. You know, so I think you know the third goalie doesn't get to play much, so it's not much of a big deal. But you know, Turner's there, and that's what matters. I think that's what I have to say about the goalies. You know, it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, at this point, and it's not as big of a deal as other position. You know, the backups at least. So
Yeah.
I say that about the goalies. The defenders as well. Again, it's the same thing. You know, the starters are pretty obvious. You know, like Dest, Robinson, Zimmerman. Even Yedlin and Scally both like are good backups, so they both should be there. But like it gets a little tricky, obviously, with like the center backs because like Chris Richards was injured and John Brooks they haven't been calling him in because I think Berhalter's got obviously some issue with him. You know, obviously that's something that's kind of out of our control at this point, but I feel like he should have been here as well. But you know, with the options that they had, Tim Ream is playing in the Premier League super well, so he definitely I think deserves to be there based on all the injuries. Cameron Carter Vickers as well has played well for a long time. Obviously, instead of Aaron Long, again, based on all of the games I've seen him play with the U.S. this last like year or two since his injury, he hasn't really warranted to be there. Just hasn't played well. He doesn't play well in possession. He's always badly positioned. I was watching him even with New York Red Bulls like this year a few times, and he
Yeah.
just gets burned over and over and over again. Like again, like he was a good player in his day, but it's gone. His time is gone now. I think it's a real concern because that's what I was saying. Like you know before like the last point I just made like about Long like Long and Ferreira are gonna hurt us the most because they're actually gonna play. You know the rest of the players you know, they don't a lot of these players that I have questions about, they're not gonna play, you know. But maybe I should say actually instead of like hurt us, the players that have the most potential to hurt us, you know, like obviously I hope that Long and Ferreira come out balling, you know. But if they play the way that they played in the qualifiers, both of them in the last few months, then it's not gonna be good, you know. And that's part of the problem that they're both starters for Berhalter, you know. So I have a little more optimism with Ferreira, but with Long, I think just kind of have to deal with what you've got. You know, he's here, he's here. Um, yeah, again, would have rather had like Eric Palmer Brown, Brooks. I'm trying to think of like another player I would have honestly rather had there than him. Maybe even I don't really. I honestly, it's probably kind of a toss up, but even Reggie Cannon's been playing like as a center back in Portugal. Maybe I would have rather had him and take out Shaq Moore as well. Shaq Moore is another one that kind of surprised me. I don't really know why he's there, to be honest. But but he's there, you know. And again, like it doesn't really do much other than like for depth, you know. So
Mhm.
again, I think again this core group is good, but again, there going to be question marks with Long, especially Long, you know, and I think that's going to make or break the defense. If Long comes in and plays how he did
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago before the injuries, great, you know. I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong, you know. But if he
Mm.
keeps playing the way he has, it's going to be a problem. So that's
So
what I'll say.
who would you put as your starting four against let's say Wales?
Starting four. I think Wales, yeah, I would do a four. With England, I do a five. But with Wales, I can say like for the first game, I would do with this group,
Mm-hmm.
Dest, Robinson, it's pretty obvious, A-Rob, Jedi, and then Zimmerman and probably Carter Vickers, or maybe Ream, because there are a lot of Premier League players on Wales. So maybe I do Tim Ream and Robinson on the left side, just like they do in Fulham, and then
Yeah.
Destin Zimmerman. That's probably what I do. But
That's what I was actually thinking as well because Reem is just has the experience. He's been in the World Cup, and some of these other guys, they're coming in for the very first time, and so I think like A lot of people were kind of hesitant about Berhalter choosing Ream, but I think it kind of adds a little kind of experience to the team,
Mm.
you know, 'cause they're all young, they're all fast, but
Mhm.
they've also, a lot of them have never played in the World Cup. I feel
Yeah,
like
no,
Ream
I
can
don't
be
think
kind of like that leader for the
has
defensive side.
played. I don't think Reem. No, I think Reem didn't play in the last World Cup. I think the only one that did was
I think
Yedlin.
2010, right? I think he's played in 2010,
No, no,
maybe.
Yedlin played in 14, but Reem has been like in and out of the team for a long time. So like he's been there, I think, since like 2010 or 11. But like I don't think he made it to either roster. But either
Oh,
way, he has a lot more
I might have
experience.
just been mistaken because I heard an interview,
Yeah,
that he was talking about it.
I think it's just Yedlin.
He brings experience. There we
He
go.
brings experience. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I agree because everybody else is so inexperienced. His experience is gonna make a difference, I think. Um, and yeah, I think for England, the only difference I would definitely Riemann Robinson because of the Premier League um play, and then Des Zimmerman in the middle, and then I put Carter Vickers as well because Carter Vickers can actually pass the ball well and play well. And like the Scottish team isn't Scottish league isn't particularly too good, but he's been great, you know, and he has played in the Premier League and Championship before, so he has the right experience for it, you know. Again, for me, Long is just the odd man out, man. Like based on all the injuries and whatnot. Again, like take Richards and Brooks, I think are our two best defenders, but they obviously can't be here for different reasons. I'll just, like kind of let go of that on that. But like with the guys we have available, I just think Long really should be a backup at the most, you know. He can be there to replace Zimmerman if Zimmerman's having problems, you know. I think that's about it. Um I just think that's again we'll see what happens. I think Berhalter is gonna start him, and so that may be again a bit of an experiment. But yeah, we'll have to see. That's
Uh,
my take though.
all right, let's move on to the midfielders.
So midfielders, honestly, it's a really good group of players. Like Adams, Musa, and Weston are obviously our starters, and they're all top players. You know,
Mhm.
um, Acosta. Honestly, I was always on the fence about Acosta, but the last like year or two that he's been playing with LAFC and now with the US, he's been much better, and I think he deserves to be here. The La Torre is really good too. He's been injured for a little while, but he's really good. He played in Spain now with Celta Vigo. Roldan, again, I mentioned at the beginning, Roldan's one of the names that I wouldn't have brought. Roldan has not done anything when he's played with the national team. He's been good with Seattle, but with the national team, he doesn't really do much. Um, that being said, again, he's like the last guy. You know, he's just kind of there for locker room spirit, if you can say that. You know,
Mm.
um, I think he offers some experience as well, so that's good. But again, there's just so many players I would have brought over him. You know,
Yeah,
Mihalovic has been much better, and he's going to play in the Netherlands next year. I would have brought Mihalovic, for example. That's like the clear and obvious one. But I would have moved like Aronson is supposed to be a midfielder as well, actually. But I would have probably just moved Aronson and Reina to the midfield and then probably brought another striker or winger like Pepe. You know, I'll talk about Pepe later, but I think overall it's like the core group again. Kind of, it's a little better in the defense in that the core group is super solidified. Even the backups are good. But yeah, at the end of the day, again, it's I think this is our best position. So if they play well, then we really have a chance, to go far. But if things aren't looking good for them, then it's kind of like okay, I just hang my hat on it. It wasn't meant to be. So yeah, man. I guess
your starting three would be like Tyler Adams, Musa, and Weston McKennie.
yeah, those would be my starters. I think for the first game. I think for England, I would put Reina in the midfield. Reina's really that's where he plays for Borussia. So I would
And
have I
so
would have him there. Yeah. Um,
the
but the
forwards.
forwards, I guess yeah, I'll make it kind of quick with the forwards, but there was also a lot to talk about here, so maybe not. But again, this is the same thing with the rest of the roster. Core group is good. You have Reina, Aronson, who really should be like in the middle, but they're good as wingers as well. Pulisic, Wea, and even Sargent. Those are like the core five. I think from that, like we're good. Haji Wright's also been really good. Like in the last few years. So I guess he's somebody I'd also add to that mix, even though he hasn't been part of like the core like group of players like throughout qualifying. He's a good player. I don't have many doubts with him. I think the real controversial decisions here are Morris and Ferreira,
Yeah,
Ferreira's been really good in MLS, but like he's just not really a number 9, you know? Like I've heard a lot of pundits saying that, and I agree. Like he's more like a second striker, kind of like I don't want to compare him to Messi because he's definitely not Messi, but like he's made to play behind a striker and set up, you know, the striker. That's why him and Pepe played well together in Dallas because he'd kind of play behind Pepe, you know? Like we need a nine that scores goals, and Ferreira's just not that. For me, it'd be Haji Wright or Sargent, you know. I'd rather have them playing up there.
Yeah,
Um, but again, Ferreira is there. He's Verhalter's guy. I don't think he's a bad player per se. But it's just like that's part of the problem I have him and Morris here is they shouldn't be here over Pepe. Pepe's had a great year, like a great like 4 or 5 months now, and like he was just getting used to life in Europe when he was in Germany, so he wasn't doing well. But he was our best like striker in World Cup qualifying. He should have been here. That's one player that I think Berhalter's gonna regret not having here. Pifak, Jordan Pifak also probably deserves to be here over like Morris or Ferreira.
yeah,
It's probably tough because you know, like I don't know, like then you would have like four strikers. I don't think you need that many. I think, you know, obviously I would just probably cut Sargent can also play as like a winger, so I'd probably just cut Morris and bring like four strikers. But like I think Pifak and Pepe both should have been here. I'll just say that, you know. But like with the guys we have, again, it's like that's the theme with the whole national team. I guess that's kind of what I'll say. We have our core group of players, and that's great. It's more so around the depth pieces, some of the depth pieces, like again, the center backs. If some of our center backs go down or have issues, we're in trouble. And then also with striker, you know, with striker, like Ferreira just hasn't been good. You know, I think it's those two positions that can hurt us a lot, you know. So
yeah.
we'll have to see. But what do you think about the whole roster? I guess I'll ask. I already done my little breakdown, but what do you think about the
I mean,
whole?
kind of similar to Mexico. There's people that shouldn't really be on here. So, I mean, you're like, why? Well, why? But I guess we're gonna see that. And right
Yeah,
now, it's too late to kind of just. I mean, we can always complain, but um, just gonna. It's just basically we're just gonna have to see what these guys are gonna do.
yeah,
One of the new rules that I heard is now, this World Cup you can do 5 subs, which
yeah.
I think that's going to be impact the whole dynamic of the team because more
Pleasure.
players can actually play per game instead of having 3 subs, as previous World Cup. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see a little bit more, as sort of like a backup plans because usually with 3 you're very limited to what you can do. But with 5, you can make changes both in the defensive side, midfielders,
Mm-hmm.
upright, and even goalies.
Yeah,
So I'm just kind of interesting to see how this team will work.
yeah,
I don't think this specific group of guys, like this specific roster, has been with each other for a long time. I feel like,
yeah,
like we said, Pepe, or like you said, sorry, Pepe and uh, John Brooks. They've
yeah,
been here with the U.S. Through qualifying rounds, and then having that switch with other players who haven't really been present. I
yeah.
feel like they can only train so much for such a little time. So
Okay.
I'm interested to see that dynamic between like Walker Zimmerman and Ream and see if
Yeah,
they're able to kind of read each other.
yeah,
Because usually it was Walker Zimmerman and Matt McKenzie as
yeah,
center
yeah.
backs, right?
Or Lindsay
So
or Richards normally, or Miles Robinson is another one that's injured, but he also
mhm,
was playing well. Um,
exactly. So kind of interesting to see what this team is gonna bring. Um, they seem very confident though
yeah.
from all the other things, but I remember I heard with this one player, I forgot who it was, but it was like sometimes when you're young and you like that excitement,
Mm-hmm.
you bring
Mm-hmm.
that to the World Cup, which is good,
Yeah,
but you freeze. It's like you
yeah,
freeze. Someone said, and like because you've never been under that pressure.
yeah,
So some of them like walk in. It depends the type of player you are too. Because some of you may feel like very nervous, but once you step on the pitch, like it goes away.
yeah.
And the other players are like super confident, but once they step on, they're like, oh snap.
Mhm.
It's like this is for real now. It's
Yeah,
like a lot of eyes watching me, like a lot of pressure. So it kind of depends, uh, you know, how they're gonna go. Um, but yeah, we'll see what the team brings.
yeah. I think same. It's probably the same for me, honestly. Like it's a wait and see. At the end of the day, what you said is completely accurate, you know. like I think there are a lot of really, again, our key players, they're superstars, and so we'll be good there. But again, I guess you said with the 5 subs, with what Greg wants to do, we're gonna have to see how they play well with each other. Again, it's a very young group of players. Some of them have played together for a long time, but a lot of these players, like I guess you said, like Ferreira, especially like Long, they just kind of were thrown in there the last few months, and they haven't been particularly better. So
Reem as well, yeah.
Reem even as well. Honestly, Reem last year wasn't doing well. I wouldn't have brought Reem back if he wasn't playing so well with Fulham. But like essentially, like yeah, as you said, it's a wait and see. I think I have hope because our players are really talented. This is our most talented generation, honestly, ever. But we're gonna have to see. As you said, it's a wait and see thing. I think it's very similar to what you're gonna say with Mexico, by the way.
Yeah. We'll move
So
on to
yeah, let's look at Mexico then. I want to hear what you have to say. You haven't actually told me your thoughts on
facts. For the teams.
I will say one thing though. Mexico already won the World Cup with their jerseys, man. Mexico's World Cup jerseys are top 3, for sure. So you got that at least.
I don't
You
know if you saw one of the videos when Mexico arrived to Qatar. Fans were screaming, what were they saying? They came up with a chant. You know how Mexicans are with their chants. They were saying, Polonia va a probar el Chile Nacional. Polonia va a probar el Chile Nacional. So I just kind of thought it was pretty funny.
What's the connection with Chile? I just remember Chile beat Mexico like 7-1. Weren't they the ones that beat Mexico 7-1? Yeah, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I have to see,
okay.
man.
All right, so goalkeepers, we're gonna start off. I honestly have no idea what Rodolfo Cota is doing here. To be honest, he's just so old. Not that he's old, but he's also like, I don't know, like he's not really a good goalkeeper in my opinion. Um, he's never like shown me like world class level. Like Ochoa and Talavera, like Talavera has played also like um big championships as well. I mean, he played that 2011 Gold Cup as well. He was like main goalie throughout the whole match. So both like Ochoa and Talavera.
Final of the
Yeah,
champions, Cup champions. So I think they both
exactly.
year. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean both Ochoa and Talavera. I feel like they're both have worked good under pressure. They've both been at that world class level, faced off against great strikers. But then again, Rodolfo Cota, he's just hasn't had the experience. He has a lot of experience, but not at a world class level.
A good experience.
A good experience. Now, with that being said, I would have chosen Acevedo mainly because developed obviously as a third goalkeeper. Because Acevedo, he's played really great for Santos. He's done some of the most acrobatic saves that, goalies nowadays, they don't really move or dive in the way that he does.
Like
the
no.
last time. Yeah, very like kind of cat-like, como gato or conejo. Yeah, very acrobatic. And so not just like diving to the sides, but also like jumping up in the air or like doing crazy saves or like even moving up a little bit out of the goal. Kind of like save the ball. Sometimes like Ochoa, like he just stays in the back. Like rarely does he, like if it's 1v1, rarely does he go off and chase the striker. But like Acevedo, he'll like run up and like put his hands on the ground and like try to save that ball. And like I personally haven't seen that since like Jorge Campos. Jorge Campos was very moved around the whole ball. Yeah.
The goalie from 2010, Perez, that's what he used to do. He used to run out, and honestly, Ochoa should have played that World Cup too, but he was running out. I remember running out like to like the almost the midfield to challenge people. That was wild, man.
Even like Jorge Campos, I don't know if you saw one of his videos. He would like take the ball and like run it across the field by himself. Yeah, it was crazy. So, but yeah, I mean, Acevedo, they should have just brought him in. Like, yeah, he doesn't have like a lot of experience as like Talavera or Chua, but develop him. And I feel like Cota, he's kind of just washed. He's old and he doesn't have, that like there's no point of bringing him because
there's no point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of there. But I feel like Acevedo would have been the third goalkeeper just to develop and like learn from these two other great goalkeepers like Ochoa.
I agree.
Talavera.
If I could add something for like 15 seconds, I'd say 100% what you said, and I think it also applies to US actually. Like again, like it's not such a big deal because the third goalie doesn't play, but like
Hmm.
the third goalie should be there for experience, you know? And so
Hmm.
like again, really good for Acevedo. It would have been honestly better. Like again, even though Sean Johnson's been better, like honestly, a third goalie is there for experience. So honestly, from that perspective, I think I'd rather have brought Stefan. You know, even if he wasn't playing well, he's young, he has potential. Like Sean Johnson's had his time, you know. He's been good. Honestly, he probably deserves it more than like Kota, to be honest. Kota's just too old to be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, but again, that's what I'll say at least about it.
Going to the defenders. Don't want to shake my head. All right, so I feel like
It is
there's a
interesting.
lot of reasons why certain players from Mexico aren't on here, and a lot of them it's like not necessarily due to injuries, just kind of like Tata is like a very how do I say? He's a very strong character, a very strong personality, and
Mm-hmm.
then like if he doesn't see you like that you're disciplined or committed to the team, then he doesn't really want you on the roster. They're not
Mm-hmm.
willing to put 100%. And I think like that's one of the main reasons why some of these players aren't getting called up. I personally, that's one of the center backs I would have called Salcedo, Carlos Salcedo. I mean, yeah, I mean he's very undisciplined, and but like he's good. Like he has that experience. He played against Germany, and he started against obviously that game against Germany, and Osorio was able to hold that line with Acevedo, Moreno, Edson Alvarez, and Hugo Ayala. All of them who like some of them played in Liga MX. Hugo Ayala plays for Liga MX, and he was able to stop freaking great strikers like Thomas Muller and Timo Werner and Mesut Özil and Draxler and all these other great players. And like that was crazy. Sometimes you don't even have like you just need to have like a good game plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's start off with Nestor Araujo. I feel like he's um, I have mixed feelings about him. Sometimes he plays really good, sometimes he plays really bad. But personally, I wouldn't really start him. Um,
He has experience, I guess.
yeah, he has experience, but he hasn't really convinced me a lot that
Yeah.
he's
He deserves to be
uh
there.
that he's the exact.
Mm.
Montes, I feel like he's really good. I feel like he's going to be one of the in a couple of years, one of the best center backs that we've had since Rafa Marquez. That's what they're saying. Like he's going to be like the new Rafa Marquez, and like already Tata's already like telling him that he wants him to be captain for future games as well. So yeah, he's still really young, but I think he does deserve to be there. If you're gonna give these young players a chance, really kind of like excel your expectations, and I feel like Montes is one of like the starting center backs, in my opinion, and like the future of this team. Edson Alvarez, obviously, well, sometimes like they put him as a defender, sometimes as a midfielder.
Yeah, he beats
He,
CDM, man. Like,
yeah, he's played CDM last World Cup. He played as a right back, and he first also started off as a center back.
mm.
He's obviously they say like one of the best players on this team, on this
He's the best.
roster.
I think he's
Uh,
the best, to be honest.
exactly. So I mean, yeah, I mean, for him it's just gonna be all mental because last World Cup scored a goal against Mexico, an own goal against when they were playing against Sweden. So that affected him a lot mentally, psychologically. He said he had to go to therapy.
Yeah.
So because of that, so he's just gonna have to just focus on the mental state, be confident, in the player and the skills that he brings, and so I feel like having a good mental state, one of the players that I think he deserves to be there for
I
sure.
think he's key, man. He's one of the best, and not the best player. So I think that
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure, but he's gonna make a big difference. If he plays well or
Hmm.
really well, Mexico has a chance, to really go
Yeah,
far.
it's gonna be
Because
one of his. Yeah, I heard he's gonna have to him and Moreno are gonna have to be the ones who kind of sandwich Lewandowski.
yeah,
That's what I was hearing Osorio say, like
yeah, yeah.
between because I thought that might play Edson as CDM and
Mm,
Moreno as center back. And he said like them two are gonna be like crucial in stopping Lewandowski, kind of like
mm,
sandwich him in like the middle where um Moreno will be in front of Lewandowski and Edson Alvarez trying to be in the back. And just kind of like prevent the air balls from coming
mhm,
down towards the feet of Lewandowski. Because
mhm.
once the air balls fall at Lewandowski's feet, like it's over.
Yeah,
Like
that's
they're gonna have to stop and be
the thing.
aggressive.
The thing with Lewandowski, because I'm a Barca fan, so I watch all the games. Lewandowski's movement is unbelievable. His movement, his positioning is unbelievable. Like he's
Yeah,
just always ready to score goals, always, you know. So I think that's the big thing. They have to have two guys on him all time, you know. And so that's a good. I think Alvarez for sure is a good. Obviously, is probably the right choice to have him there. Like I like looming over him, but like yeah, either Moreno or somebody more experienced. Moreno, Araujo, as you said, he's been inconsistent, but one of those two have to shadow him the entire game. You know, yeah,
Exactly.
entire
And
game for sure.
let's see, Joan Vasquez. I mean, he's a great player, but I personally wouldn't have taken him to the World Cup just because he hasn't seen a lot of action under Tata. Tata obviously, like Berhalter, has his favorites, always
Mm,
putting in like Moreno or Montes
yeah.
over Vasquez. And I feel
Yeah.
like Vasquez, he's developing too,
Mm,
like many other young players, but um, he hasn't proved to me, in my opinion, that he deserves to be going to this World Cup. I feel like,
mm,
yeah, he has a lot of talent. He's tall, he's good, but he hasn't seen a lot of action.
mhm,
I personally, instead of him, like I said, I would have taken Cancelo
mm,
as center back just because he's experienced, he's very aggressive. Me and Peleonero, we've seen that against USA. He
mhm.
also likes to fight against the US players, and I feel like I would personally just taken Salcedo over
So,
Vasquez, but it is what it is. Arteaga, I feel like he's better than Gallardo, in my opinion. So
interesting.
Gallardo was good, but he's just lately, he was good. He played really well in 2018.
Mhm,
But now, like Arteaga, he's also developing, and I understand why sometimes Tata puts Gallardo in instead of, Arteaga as left back. But he's also really good. He's really fast. He's more technical, and he scores goals. And, we saw that against Colombia. How he, took the ball and did what he could, scored a goal.
mhm.
And I feel like, yeah, he deserves to be here for sure. So between him and Gallardo, I think right now Arteaga is at a better place than Gallardo is. I feel like I would put in my starter Arteaga as left back, and then Gallardo as the sub in case, like, Arteaga isn't playing well that game.
That's my question. I'll ask you the same question that you said about Wales. You know, the back four for
Hmm.
Mexico versus Poland. You know,
Hmm.
we're gonna shut
Oh, the
Chicago.
back four?
Mexico
Yeah,
and
so
Poland is gonna shut
Mexico,
Chicago down, man.
I feel like Mexico
Yeah.
versus Poland, I'll put four in the back. It should
Mm,
be Arteaga as left back, um, Moreno as center back, left center back, um, Montes as right center back, and then Jorge Sanchez as right back.
mm,
Jorge Sanchez, well, Moreno is just really good because he's one of the oldies in the
yeah.
team. Moreno along with Guardado and Ochoa.
Mm,
So I think both those three actually are the ones who've been with Mexico for a very long time.
mm,
And usually people say like, oh, that's because like Mexico hasn't developed talent. That's why they're reusing the players. Actually, I think, well, other than Guardado, I think Ochoa and Moreno kind of deserve to be on this team.
mm,
Moreno has like done a lot for the Mexican national team. He's a really great defender. And he's always a starter. I remember him since 2014, playing with alongside him and Rafa Marquez. They were like the go-to guys. Like
yeah.
Rafa Marquez and Moreno were like great center backs. Now that
Yeah.
Rafa Marquez has retired, um, Mexico has struggled kind of like to find his partner, kind
Yeah.
of be his like right hand next to him because it was usually Rafa Marquez was there with him, and
Mm,
both of them played really great together. They had a lot of chemistry.
mm,
But yeah, I mean he's one of the starters that I would put just because he's been at that world class level. He's played most of his entire career in Europe. And he's not really that old. He's like 33, 35,
yeah. He's a
around
good.
in there. But yeah,
He's still good
so
to be
he
fair.
still has pace. He still can run.
Yeah, he can still
Yeah,
run.
he's really good with the aerial ball as well. And then Jorge Sanchez, like his level this year has just gone up. Like first he was in America and you're like, but then like once he's like playing next to, it's an Alvarez and Ajax and like just gone like better and siempre le echa ganas cada vez que lo meten. And so there's no doubt him and Julian Araujo are good like go-to center back. That's why I don't understand why Julian Araujo wasn't here. I would have taken him
Yeah, Julian.
over
That's
Kevin
what
Alvarez because
should be.
Kevin Alvarez just he just sucks. He's like playing for Pachuca. I mean, he's good, but Julian Araujo, in my opinion, is just better.
Well, I don't know why Tata didn't bring Araujo, to be honest. I don't know why do you think that was? Because Alvarez is like young and stuff, but like Araujo is good and he was good. He played well with Mexico. I think he should be there. I don't know.
Yeah,
Why
I
do you,
don't know.
why do you think it's
I don't know if it has something to do with the Chicharito drama, playing the same team or something. I don't really know.
Do you think
Uh,
that's another good question for you? Do you think I know for a fact like the US like at least this coach Berhalter is like a pro he's very pro MLS and
mhm.
sometimes some players he brings are mediocre. But do you think it's the opposite for Tata? Do you think he's like anti MLS? Because there are a lot of players in MLS that I think he could have brought honestly over some of these guys like Araujo. Like he brought Herrera, I guess, but you know, because Herrera's Herrera, you know, but like I think he should have brought Araujo, like Bela and Chicharito. Like Bela's already said he retired, but Chicharito honestly should be here. I think as well. I don't know. Do you think that just doesn't like MLS, even though he was a coach there? Do you think he just doesn't like MLS? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I just knew him. I didn't even know him before he got called up to be the coach. I just knew that he was like coach for Atlanta
Yeah,
United.
yeah,
But I don't know. It may be. I mean, I think maybe he just a little frustrated that the players that he wanted to call up from the MLS, they said no.
yeah,
Something like that. Oh, it was just Vela, honestly. But I
yeah,
don't know. Maybe. Maybe originally.
yeah.
The
Maybe
midfielders,
there. But
I
yeah,
don't
what do
know
you?
why Ache has his shirt tucked.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, but let's see. Honestly, our midfielders are where we kind of lack, to be honest.
Yeah, they do lack a lot here.
It looks very weak in my opinion.
Weak midfield.
Let's see. Luis Romo, he's kind of like he's good, but he hasn't really seen a lot of action. He hasn't really proven to me that also that he deserves to be on this team. Johnny Rodriguez, I would have brought him too, but he's still not at that elite level. You know, I don't know why he's not in Europe, but
Yeah,
there's he needs a little bit more
it's
pizzazz in my opinion.
okay.
Eddie Gutierrez, I think he does deserve to be here. He does deserve to start, in my opinion, instead of Guardado, just because Guardado is good, but he's old. He ya no corre. Like, he does not run anymore.
But
Guardado
also,
does, and like he just gives up on the ball way too easily now. He's not the player that he was. Like he used to be really fast and like score like cañonazos on goals and like really good like distance shots. But now like he hasn't really done anything. Herrera's you see he has his moments. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he like against Canada, one of the qualifying, he, like scored a goal. Um, so he has his moments, but lately he hasn't just shown any potential. And I
mhm.
don't even know honestly who Luis Chavez is.
Yeah, who do
I
you
mean,
start this time? Do you think?
starting three. Well, it depends because sometimes people will put Edson Alvarez in the middle. So I mean,
Yeah, Alvarez is definitely one. Like assuming Alvarez is CDM, like who would you start as the other two? I guess.
I guess with Poland, depends also on the team. So with Poland, I think I would put Eddie Gutierrez and Herrera.
Mm,
And with Argentina, I might put in Guardado just
mm,
because of that experience. And then if that doesn't work out, then I can sub him out and put Eddie Gutierrez
yeah,
for the rest of that game.
yeah. I think
Just as you,
it should
well,
be between those three. I agree.
yeah,
I think.
these three, just
The other
Dario
two,
Rodriguez, yeah, Luis Romo and Luis Chavez are kind of like the worst.
Luis
Yeah,
Chavez. Also, I don't know much about Luis Chavez. I really haven't seen him play, to be honest.
yeah.
What is
I don't
he?
even know who he is, honestly. I think
Is he
I don't
young as
even know. Yeah.
a player?
No, I don't know where he plays. Like he plays in in Liga MX, but I don't even know.
That's an interesting
Like
one,
I'm
man.
I'm surprised they didn't bring like Linus
Yeah,
or
line.
Marcelo Flores
That's a big
instead
one.
of Luis Chavez. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I understand when they brought Luis Romo because he's like a CDM. So
yeah.
like Edson Alvarez gets injured, they put in Luis Romo,
You
and
need him.
I understand why Linus isn't a CDM, but
Mm.
I feel like Linus would have been better than Luis Chavez.
Yeah,
And
for sure. I
personally,
don't know why Luis Chavez is here, honestly.
I would
It's
have brought
you know.
I would have brought Marcelo Flores. I know he's not a midfielder, but I would have brought Marcelo Flores instead of Charlie Rodriguez, in my opinion. So
Yeah,
just put my yeah,
another quick 15-minute tidbit. I'd say, yeah, I agree. I think what Mexico needs in this midfield is creativity, man. Like a lot of players are too old. Like at Guardado and Negrera are probably there for experience, but they're just too old to be the same players they were back in the day. They need people like Linus or Marcelo Flores, as you said, to create things. Because
yeah.
there's just nobody here, I feel like, that creates chances for the
Mm.
forwards, you know?
Yeah, I feel like Linus over Chavez would have been so
That's
much
very
better. I don't even know
That's another
what the move was
nice.
by that. Yeah, I don't even know what he was thinking. But yeah,
Think about the
man,
forwards though. This is my favorite
this
position.
forward is bad, bro. But it has to do with a lot of reasons, you know. Chicharito wanted to be there, but Tata said no, and
Yeah,
then Tata wanted Vela to be here, but Vela said no.
I don't know.
So
Yeah,
I mean, like it has to do with a lot of things.
yeah.
And then Raúl Jiménez, he's also kind of injured, so we don't really know. And Tecatito Corona is also injured
That's
as well. So I feel like we're gonna struggle with World
yeah.
Cup. Because like the three starting strikers from last World Cup, Vela, oh, other than Chukwueze, but Vela, uh,
Chicharito, eh?
Perito, and Tecatito, like they're good. And then
There.
like we don't have any of them
Yeah,
this
and
World
then
Cup, which is gonna hurt us a lot. And I feel like I'm just not really that confident in these strikers as well. Like I have no idea what Piojo was here,
yeah,
but
West.
I understand why because Tecatito wasn't here.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
I feel like
he could have brought again Flores or Linus there, even though they're like more again they're kind of like Aronson and Reina and that they can play both, but
they're like morros. We call them kids.
they
And like I think
they
that's why
should
Tata didn't bring him because he sees them as children.
that's what I'm saying is the game's getting younger. We've talked about this before on old podcasts, like the game is getting younger. You need players that can run. You need players that can run.
Yeah,
So
so like I mean here like wait a minute. I don't even see Chucky.
yeah, even Chuki's there. Yeah, why is Chuki not there?
I don't
Where the heck did he go? Has
even
there been
know.
news that he just dropped out of the roster?
No, I heard he was on here. I don't even
God,
know why he's not on here.
let me look this up, man. That's very weird.
Oh
Like,
no, he's right here. He's right here.
where
I
is
just
he?
forgot to scroll.
Oh, we just
There he is.
okay. Chuki's, yeah, I was gonna say as like
Like a
everybody
press
else
forward.
just
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
Well,
for sure.
it's gonna be on his back, these forwards. It's gonna
Honestly, yeah, I feel like Lozano's gonna is like really the only one from like the big three from World Cup
yeah.
that
Lozano.
yeah, I mean like all these other like Antuna's trash. I mean he's fast sometimes he has his moments, but he's not that elite level. Neither is Henry Martin,
He was all
in my
hype.
opinion.
Never good. That's for
Uh,
sure.
Henry Martin, I feel like he played a really good season with America. He scored a lot of goals
Mhm.
this in this season, and he also is the only Mexican to score against like the three um big Premier League
Mhm.
clubs like Manchester City. He scored against all of them, and
Even
so
Chelsea.
I understand why you know that he brought them, but I don't know. I feel like very weak from the center, and other than the left side, from the right side as well. I feel like Alexis is. I understand why a lot of people like Alexis, but Alexis Vega, he's kind of trash, in my opinion.
It doesn't.
Um,
There you go.
yeah,
How
it's
about
cause just
Pineda? What do you think about Pineda? I don't think we really talked much about it.
he doesn't really do anything, and like he's
Yeah,
just kind of like a wannabe kind of striker,
and he
not
can
really
dance.
good in my opinion.
Pineda can
But
dance.
yeah, I mean, like I honestly would have I would have forgiven Chicharito and brought him in.
Yeah, that's
Vela, I understand why he couldn't be there.
yeah.
He just doesn't want to, so I mean that's just like we can't really do anything about that.
It's
But
just what.
if Tecatito hadn't gotten injured, I would have put Vito as first, Tito and Chucky. That would have been my three.
Who would have been
But
your? It would have been Chucky, Tecatito, and who would have been your nine?
Chicharito,
Oh, Chicharito. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. But since they're not here, Poland, I would probably put. This might surprise a lot of everybody, but obviously I would put Chucky Lozano for every game, like without a doubt. Um, I'm gonna have to put Funes Mori for Poland just to start him off to see how he does. Yeah, if he plays good, because Raúl Jiménez, he's kind of been shaky. He hasn't been the same since that
He's never been
injury.
the same, which is
And
sad. He's a great player.
yeah, and he's been coming off an injury as well.
Yeah.
And then if Rogelio Funes Mori doesn't do well, then I would sub in Henry Martin and see if he can create
Mhm.
chances. Um, and then for the right, I would have to put against Poland probably Alexis Vega, just because he's more. I feel like he creates more chances than Antuna.
Antuna.
Because yeah, Antuna has speed. Alexis, he has more of his shots are more on target. One just sometimes kicks the ball and has no idea where it's going.
Just
Just kind
kick.
of kicks it.
I noticed he just runs
Yeah,
and kicks.
he
Yeah.
just runs and just kicks it with like no.
Like I feel like he didn't develop past like 19 or 20 when he signed with City and all that. I'm like, okay, man, this guy has potential. And then from
Yeah.
that moment on, he's never developed anymore.
Bro, they loaned him out. I was like, bro,
But
they
no,
sent him back.
one thing is for sure though, I will say that you have been Funes Mori's biggest fan since since Funes Mori has committed to three. They've given him a lot of chances. I thought he would honestly be like at least solid. But
Yeah.
every game I've seen Funes Mori with, um, like again, I just like I trusted from one of the years that we did. Maybe it was a year ago when we did the podcast with David of
Hmm.
Costa Rica. Like when it was that night when like the U.S. played Mexico, Costa Rica played I think Canada or something. It's I don't remember 100%. But like you were saying that Funes Mori has a lot of like talent and he's been good for many years, and so maybe this is the time now in his 30s to really become like Benzema has had his resurrection in the 30s. He'll come and be the nine. But ever since like he's been playing with the three, he's been so weak. Like he hasn't done anything. He's missed, if anything, he's missed so many goals, so many chances. Like I feel like if up to me, I honestly wouldn't have brought him. I would have brought Santi Jimenez. El
Oh
Bebote
yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, Sunday minutes.
should have been there over
Um,
somebody,
yeah,
no
honestly,
doubt.
that would have been a better choice.
Yeah,
But for his money, he played really good. In the World Cup, he was scoring a lot of goals. But then again, those were Central American teams.
yeah,
Not really that good.
yeah,
And then he's been out a lot because he got injured. He's been injured multiple times. That's why a lot of people ask about him. In my opinion, I would not start him against Argentina just because that's going to get in his head. Because he's also Argentinian. He grew up Argentinian. He has the
he
Argentinian
grew up
accent.
in Argentina.
Exactly. And so I don't think mentally he's prepared for that game. Just because I mean they're gonna talk trash. Like the other players can be like, "Oh, you're such a bandwagon. Why would you play for this team?"
Yeah,
The guys like you're an Argentinian, and
yeah,
like I feel like he wouldn't even be feel confident playing
yeah,
against them as well. Because like it's even though yeah you choose like country like you still feel a connection with that
yeah,
country. And you probably know it better. Since you have like three nationalities as well,
yeah,
um, better than me. And I feel like that's also going to be a problem with some of the English players for USA when they play against
yeah.
England, like
Yeah.
Anthony Robinson,
Anthony
Cotton
Rob-
Vickers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
and so
Anthony Robinson speaks like a true Brit. Have you heard his accent? He's like, oh, he speaks
yeah, all
like a
right,
true
mate.
Brit.
Yeah, so does
He's
Carter
British.
Vickers. Like my name's Carter Vickers, Carter
That's it.
hyphen Vickers.
No, that's one. A lot of in Des too is another one that we got lucky we didn't play the Netherlands, but if we do make it out of the group, we have to play the Netherlands. That's gonna be like a mind game for Serginho because he grew up in the Netherlands. Like I feel like again, like he chose to play for the US. Again, like you don't question that, but like that's where he grew up. I feel like it made a big difference. See all the players he played with in Ajax and he's like, wow, like I'm here with you kind of have to give it 100%, but it's not like you said with Funes Mori. It's part of your identity is still there. And so you're gonna be like, it's just it. You have to be really prepared for those games, man, because they can really play with you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So it's,
so overall, what do you think about the rosters, the both of the both of the rosters that we just went through? What do you think? What do you think overall?
dude, honestly, we're screwed.
Yeah,
No. In all seriousness, I feel like for both USA and Mexico, they both have the same goal, which is to get out of the group stage.
it's got the
I feel
groups.
like that's kind of like what everybody wants them to do. El quinto partido, that's going to be something else. Or cuarto partido, to be honest. But
Be there.
it's just
Yeah,
kind of like just both of them. They're both going to try to get out of the group stage. I honestly don't think that both of these teams will make it. I know,
yeah,
actually. We all know that. But
yeah.
just kind of both of them are just they have something to prove. Mexico
That's something to
has
prove.
some has trying to prove that even with their weaknesses, they can still persevere.
Mm-hmm.
USA is just coming back from that not being in the World Cup at all. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, like letting people know that putting basically where their money is, putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah,
And saying, yeah, we've came back from a loss. There's been so much talk about this team. Now it's the time to prove to the world, to their country, to themselves that they're able to kind of be the team that everybody expects.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
I agree. I think I'm 100% in agreement with you, man. I
Yeah.
think actually, like, okay, obviously, even though we're both American, and I have I have like obviously like, we both around a lot of people here that I think
Mhm.
don't really know. I guess I can speak first for the U.S. perspective. You know, like a lot of people here don't care about soccer, about football. You know,
Mhm.
and I think that it really will take an amazing World Cup to put people on notice that this team and this sport is growing here. But I just don't have faith that this is the World Cup, man. Like for that, you know, this team has just been so up and down through qualifiers. I just don't think Greg is the right coach for the US. And honestly, again, like I think this is more of a warm up for 2026. To be honest, for some of these players, that can really be a very special World Cup. But you know, you have to do what you gotta do now. You know, and I think that's the thing, as you said about both teams making it out of the group. That's the goal. If they both make it out of the group, I'd say that mission accomplished. Honestly, you know, but I think I honestly have more faith that Mexico will get out of their group. The U.S. have a tricky group, you know. Iran always plays well against the U.S. because of the political tensions. They always are going to play well against the U.S. And Wales is sneaky good too. So I wouldn't. I personally think Wales maybe not so much a threat. I could be wrong, but I think Iran is the one that may make it out of the group. Iran and England, you know. So I obviously have faith that the U.S.
Mhm.
can. I think Mexico has more of a chance because Argentina is obviously the best, but Poland is really the big game. If they lose to Poland, that may be it, you know. But Saudi Arabia, I think, yeah, it won't pose much of a threat. Saudi Arabia, like they've had their moments in previous World Cups, but I just think Mexico's better than Saudi Arabia. But Poland, that's a big game. That's the game. You know, if they can't win that one or at least get a draw, then it's over for them. You know. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what
mm,
they were saying. Yeah, Poland is going to be literally the key to get out of the group stage.
um,
But they're also saying they're also criticizing not Lewandowski, Poland in general. Like without Lewandowski, Poland isn't really a strong team.
no, they don't.
They're not like Lewandowski is like gonna have to carry the team.
He carries the team.
Um, yeah. So because like they played that friendly against Chile and they struggled. Like Chile almost scored a couple of goals on them as well.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
feel like yeah, they're just gonna. And then I think Lewandowski scored
Mhm.
against Chile. I don't remember. Oh, no, I don't think it was somebody else.
I don't know if I remember. Was it like a friendly just recently? I don't think I watched the
Yeah, it
highlight.
was like everybody like I don't even know why we're playing friendlies like a week before the World Cup, just because like
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
know
get
it's not
injured.
the right time. You're
Yeah,
gonna get in. Yeah, I don't agree.
yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I mean like that's what I was saying. Like the rank in FIFA is really low as
Yeah,
well for Poland. Like Mexico's higher than them as well, but
for sure.
we're just gonna have to see
Well,
what happens. Lewandowski honestly is the biggest threat. I feel like Tata knows that, and I feel like he should just come with a good game plan.
yeah.
Osorio was smart, because even with he was able to hold a line with like Liga MX players against, like I said, top scorers that play in Europe, and that
Mm-hmm.
was just all Osorio. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just his mind; he was just prepared for
Just
that,
prepare.
and I feel
Yeah.
like Tata should have something for each of these teams and know how to attack and counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. I heard someone from ESPN Deportes were saying like, ¿quién es el mejor um, jugador? ¿Quién es el jugador de la selección mexicana que ha jugado mejor en los últimos dos mundiales?
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, I don't know, like it's Ochoa.
So, oh yeah,
Ochoa,
oh
yeah,
yeah.
Ochoa is
That's
the
something that
Mexican player that's played the
we
best
forgot
the
to
past two World
mention.
Cups. And they were saying like, what Mexican player is gonna carry Mexico? And they were all naming strikers and midfielders, and they're like, no, it's Ochoa.
Yeah, honestly, like
Yeah.
that's the thing is everybody always focuses on everybody else, you know? But like one thing is for sure, I've watched Memo long enough. In the
Hmm.
big games, Memo's always there. And
Yeah.
so Memo for me, actually, yeah, I talked about like Lozano and Edson. Those are probably the two key players on the field. But if whenever World Cup comes around, Memo goes like prime Neuer,
Yeah.
Courtois. He goes all of them rolled into one, man. Like the two best goalies, in my opinion, and obviously other than Neuer, I'll leave Neuer out. But like for the 2014 World Cup, the best goalies were Ochoa and Navas. Ochoa and
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
unbelievable
Like
that
just
World
like
Cup.
Costa Rica, like now that's also
Navas,
carries
that's a
his team.
huge
Yeah.
game. That's another one. I mean, we obviously won't focus so much on Costa Rica in this stream, but like I think it's very similar. I think with Mexico's situation for Costa Rica, like if Navas is Navas, which you know he always is, you know, but that's the key. for Costa Rica. You have to just bank that they just don't have enough talent, I think, to really dominate on the field and in play and gameplay. But if Navas keeps being Navas, they're always gonna have a chance, So
And that's like at the end of the day, it just comes down to those two positions.
yeah,
You know, like who carries a team? Who carries a team is usually a striker or a
yeah,
goalkeeper
yeah, goalie.
carries a team. So it's never like a right back. Like actually with Canada, it's actually a left back. Alfonso Davis is kind of like their
But that's why they
carries
put him
the
as an attacker, man,
now.
because
Yeah, they switched them up. Yeah.
great chance. Is another one that I think Canada actually has. The problem with Canada is they're so imbalanced. Their strikers are going to be good. Like they have David, they have Buchanan, they have Davies, obviously. But from there, the defense is going to struggle. The defense is a lot of just like Canadian-based players that don't have experience. Like Victoria has experience, but like a lot of that defense, I think, is going to struggle. And so I think that's a big part of it. And they don't have like the luxury to put Alfonso back at left back. He has to play up top as a midfielder or a winger. So I think it's the same thing. Just it's just a lot of imbalance for Canada as opposed to like I think Mexico and Costa Rica are both like they just don't have I think the quality on the field they once did. So they're gonna have to bank on their stars. Um, I think honestly, I will still say though, like I think the team with the most potential out of them is probably the U.S. The coach really holds us back. I will say that. Again, I've made it pretty clear that I'm just not a fan of this coach. I don't think many people are. But
Mm-hmm.
this team has a lot of talent. And so if he really just lets the players play, I think they can make a lot out of this World Cup. But if he keeps playing, I'll just say that if he keeps using his system and forcing the system down the players' throats and being very predictable with his players. Like this team, they won't be able to overcome that. But I do think in the end of the day, the US probably have the most potential to do the most out of like the CONCACAF teams. But I could be wrong. They could also just not make it out of the group. But I have faith. I think all of us have some strengths in CONCACAF. And I think we just have to see we're how we go. As you said, the World Cup is a different animal, man, when it comes around. So yeah. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Yeah, man. I guess I'll ask you one more question to kind of close out. At least on my end, like what I feel I wanted to talk about was like obviously we talked about CONCACAF, US, Mexico, little Costa Rica, Canada. As overall, like as like the kind of going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, about the World Cup, a lot of injuries, a lot of political tension / issues with the whole World Cup in Qatar and everything. Do you think I have two questions for you? Do you think this is gonna be a good World Cup, number one? And number two, who do you think are the favorites? Like, who would you pick? Do you think is gonna win the World Cup?
So first question, I think honestly is kind of like a mediocre.
Mediocre.
It's not like as exciting as it has been in like the past years. I don't know why. 2018 was a really good one. 2014 and
Yeah.
2010. Mainly
They're
like
all
because I was old enough to actually
yeah.
understand all of it. But I feel like this one, it's just like this. I don't know. It's like this vibe. Like a lot of players are sick. Not sick, injured. Um, some players can go. There's a lot of criticisms, and I feel like also about the stadium and about FIFA and like how many people have died building the stadium and stuff like that. So, I mean, I feel like we're just gonna have to wait and see,
We'll have to wait and see.
how good this is. And what was the other question?
Yeah, the other question was who do you think is gonna win?
Oh, it's gonna be between Brazil and Argentina. They're like the fan favorites. Like if you look at both of their rosters, they're really good. Um, Brazil's roster is crazy.
Oh,
Richarlison, Anthony, Fred, Rodrigo, Neymar, Vinicius Jr., Gabriel Jesus. Like it's crazy, bro. Like, but
yeah,
then again, like 2014, Brazil also had a really good roster, but then they choked against Germany.
yeah,
Yeah, so we'll see. This is gonna have to be not just the players, but also the manager and what
yeah,
he
it's a lot
decides
of
on playing.
yeah.
Sometimes when you have too much talent, you have a lot of ego on the field, and so I'm just gonna have to wait and see. And I also heard, bro,
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to this guy, this dude who's Argentinian. He's like a pastor, and he was telling me, I was like, like usted es argentino. He's like, sí, sí. He's like, che. You know how to talk, boludo. I was like, sí, so. And he was like, oh, I was like, le gusta el fútbol. I was like, yeah, soccer. He was like, yeah. He's like, and we were talking about like World Cup and everything, and he was like, you obviously pulling for Argentina, and he said, obviously I want Argentina to win. He's like, he looked at me, he like very serious, and he said, Carlos, el mundo quiere ver a Messi levantar la copa,
Yeah, yeah.
just
Mm,
like Diego Maradona. He's like, I don't know how, and I don't know why, or I don't know how, or I don't know how it's gonna happen, but that is like, mark my words, like the world wants to see Messi levantar la copa.
I
And I was
agree.
like, so you think it's gonna be corrupt? You think with referees and everything, they're gonna be paid? He's like, I don't know. But that's someone said that in 1986 with Maradona. They wanted Maradona to let the cup.
Yeah, yeah.
And then again,
Hand
La
of God.
Mano.
Yeah,
And then like the ref was like, no, that was a goal. And I was like, what? That was not a goal. Obviously, like you can go back and like see the tape. So they're like, he like said to me, he was just like, think like we're just gonna everybody's gonna do their best to see Messi, you know, like that's crazy. But then it's like a conspiracy theory. It's like it's gonna be like one time one of my friends he was like, do you think the World Cup is like fixed? And he's like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
it could be.
But
With FIFA, I'm not surprised if it would be fixed, you know.
yeah. What do you think, Evan?
That's good. I personally, I think what your friends said is right. Todos quieren que Messi gane el Mundial. I want Messi to win el Mundial. There's no doubt about it. I'm rooting for Argentina and I pick Argentina to win, you know? But as you said, like I think we're due for a few iconic moments maybe in this World Cup, man. But maybe it will be more infamous than iconic, you know, like the hand of God. Like
Mhm.
there are gonna be moments that you look back and you're like, wow, it was a great World Cup, but I'm gonna say it right now, you know, I think somebody either Ronaldo or Messi, probably more likely Messi will win the World Cup, but it may not be in the cleanest way, you know. I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah,
if it's the cleanest way. That
that
being said, it would be great to see it, but I wouldn't be surprised, man. This World Cup's already got so much controversy around it. It,
I
it
feel like
could be dirty.
VAR might help them. They
Could
might
be,
just win a goal by a VAR, like a
yeah.
VAR thing, or something like that. It's gonna be super controversial.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
something.
No,
That's
yeah, they have like some good technology. We'll see what
I mean,
happens.
that's fine, say, man. Yeah, I will see that's all we can say, man. 12 hours. I'm just super. 11 hours now. I'm super excited, man, for this World Cup, man. But obviously, like overall, like it's a World Cup. You know, this is when the world comes together. This is when like you just get to see. I think again, the whole world shuts down for this, and it's definitely the greatest tournament in the world, man. It's unbelievable, and I'm just looking forward to it, man. I hope at the end I'm wrong that at least the World Cup, like even though like the US weren't in the last World Cup, for example, like I had Costa Rica and Peru, and obviously neither of them played well, but overall I can say it was an amazing World Cup. I hope it's the same for this one. No matter honestly, I try to put that aside, like your country pride or whatever team or that country you're rooting for. Obviously, with the US and Costa Rica, that's what I'm rooting for. But I just want to see a great World Cup, man. And I think it will be, maybe controversial, but it'll be good. What do you think?
Uh,
It's your last thoughts, man. It's your video. What do you think?
yeah, just gonna say, we'll see what happens. I'll be at work when these games are playing, but I'm glad that the Mexico game is gonna be on Saturday against Argentina.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
have a watch party. That's gonna be a great
Yeah,
game.
that's what I'm saying. The
Oh,
England and USA, I watch party, and then Spain, Costa Rica also watch party. I will say, anybody who's in Chicago that wants to watch France and Australia, we're gonna have at the Alliance Française France and Australia game watch, 1 p.m. Just register on the website. So that's exciting. I'm rooting for France as well, but like I don't think France has a chance with their injuries.
no
But
injuries, yeah.
all
So,
these moments, man, all these games are gonna be amazing just to see the cultures clash and honestly convivir too, and
mhm,
be unite with each other. So
mhm,
it's gonna be great. I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
mhm. Sounds good. Well, thank you, EJLJ, once
Thank
again for being on the podcast. Again, we're like Sebastian Salazar, Les
you.
Gomez, 'cause it's always the two of us. Um, but estamos los que estamos. So thank you very much being here, and hope to have you back on, at least either in the middle of the World Cup or at the end. Maybe we'll do one at the end.
Yeah,
Kind of just talk about what we just saw.
It
We
just
can,
that would be
it'll be
amazing.
crazy. But
We'll
yeah,
see if
thank
we
you.
had some of these predictions right, man. That's what'll be the cool thing about the other videos I post. We'll be able to see how our predictions did, you know? That'll be fun. So yeah, man. Gracias otra vez, man. Viva el fútbol. That's all I'll say. Viva el fútbol, man.
Que viva el fútbol.
Yes, sir.
Que viva Mexico. And for you, I believe that we will win.
I don't want to hear that chant again, man. I just want to hear like
I
solo
believe that we
pa'lante.
will win.
I believe
Solo
they're gonna start
pa'lante.
yelling that, man. I guarantee you that in the bar. I
Yeah.
believe.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, man, for being here.
Gracias,
And
bro.